August 19, 1945, 04:17 a.m. Sinyi Utyos Village, Blagoveshchensky District, Amur Oblast, USSR. The silence that night was extraordinary, profound, almost monastic. The air over the Amur region, normally thick with mosquitoes and the scent of damp taiga, seemed scrubbed clean. Not a single leaf rustled on the birches by the Zaya River. Even the village dogs had fallen silent. Only the occasional snap of a twig beneath a fox's paw broke the stillness, and faintly, a distant hum, barely perceptible, like the Earth's own pulse before an earthquake. It was the drone of Mitsubishi Ha-26 engines, 14-cylinder radial motors powering Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally bombers. The last reserves of Japan's Kwantung Army were advancing north. Their target? The Blagoveshchensky Railway Junction, a vital supply node for Soviet forces in Manchuria. Time? Dawn. Location? The skies over Amur Oblast. Number of aircraft? 52. Yet not a single Japanese pilot knew what awaited them. Not anti-aircraft artillery, not Yak-9 interceptors, not radar defenses. What awaited them was one man, a simple Russian farmer, a self-taught inventor, Stepan Ivanovich Lugovoy. 1. A homeland in the heart. Verk-Burluk, 1903 to 1924. Stepan Ivanovich Lugovoy was born on September 12, 1903, in the village of Verk-Burluk, Voronezh Governorate. The village lay 42 kilometers northeast of Bogushar, in a steppe zone blessed with fertile Chernozem soil but plagued by frequent droughts. His father, Ivan Petrovich Lugovoy, worked as a blacksmith at a station on the Southern Railway, while his mother, Agrippina Fyodorovna, tended a beekeeping operation of 32 hives, a rarity in those days. From an early age, Stepan showed an extraordinary aptitude for mechanics. In 1910, at just 7 years old, he built a watermill from scrap wood and copper wire to power a grindstone. In 1914, on the eve of the First World War, he disassembled and reassembled a Swiss lip chronometer gifted by his grandfather. And in 1916, he heard his first radio broadcast, a transmission from Petrograd via a Marconi receiver, an experience that forever altered his understanding of the world. The Russian Civil War, 1918 to 1922, left a deep scar on his soul. In May 1919, a White Army detachment under Ataman Mamontov passed through Verk-Burluk. Ivan Lugovoy refused to hand over the village's grain stores. For his defiance, he was beaten and left lying by the well. 15-year-old Stepan tended to his father for 2 days, giving him infusions of wormwood and coltsfoot. His father survived, but never rose from his bed again. He died on November 3, 1919. In 1921, famine, brought on by war, communism, and drought, took the lives of his younger brother Pyotr and elder sister Yevdokia. Stepan remained with his mother in their empty home. Then, in 1923, he read an article in the newspaper Bednota. The Far East awaits the industrious, to each according to his ability, to each according to his labor. Those words became his calling. On April 17, 1924, Stepan set out with an axe, a cooking pot, a sack of wheat seeds, and an old leather tool case. He took a train to Moscow, then the Trans-Siberian Express to Khabarovsk. From there, he boarded the steamship Amur, arriving in Blagoveshchensk on May 8, 1924. A week later, he reached Sinyi Utyos, a hamlet of 11 log cabins and 1 earth-floored storage hut. 2. Sinyi Utyos, Building a New Life, 1924 to 1937. Sinyi Utyos had been founded in 1912 by settlers from Tambov and Saratov provinces. The village took its name from a rocky bluff on the eastern bank of the Zaya River, which turned a deep blue at sunset. By the time Stepan arrived, only 37 people remained, mostly elderly folk and widows whose husbands had perished in the Civil War. Stepan joined the Krasny Plug artel, established in 1923. By 1926, it had become a model collective, the first in the district to acquire a Fordson Putilovets tractor. Stepan didn't just till the soil, he studied it, kept meticulous records of crop yields, and in 1928 proposed a 4-field crop rotation: rye, clover, oats, fallow. Yields rose by 40%. But above all, Stepan built. In 1929, using plans from a German journal, Technik für alle, he constructed a Darius-type windmill. In 1931, he engineered a water pump powered by the Zaya's current to irrigate fields. And in 1933, after a radiofication brigade visited the village, he assembled his first radio receiver from parts of a decommissioned telegraph machine. He tuned in to broadcasts from Moscow, Khabarovsk, even Vladivostok. In 1935, he declined the chairmanship of the Budynia Kolkhoz. "My place isn't behind a desk, it's in the workshop." From then on, villagers called him Stepan the Master. 3. The Shadow from the East. Early Warnings, 1937 to 1941. On July 7, 1937, Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China. The USSR declared its support for China, and border security in Amur Oblast intensified. On July 11, 1938, the Soviet-Japanese conflict at Lake Hassan began. News reached Sinyi Utyos on July 13 via radio. Stepan understood instantly this was no minor skirmish, but a prelude to a greater war. He began keeping an aviation observation log, now preserved in the Blagoveshchensky Regional Museum. Sample entries: July 15, 1938, 1520 hours, hum from the east, altitude approximately 3,000 meters, heading Blagoveshchensk, speed approximately 280 kilometers per hour. July 29, 1938, 06:45 a.m. Silver speck observed above Sokolina Mountain. Aircraft type undetermined. August 12, 1939, following the Battle of Khalkhin Gol. Patrol spotted. 2 aircraft. Japanese call signs confirmed. By 1940, Stepan had developed the Amur I system, a network of 7 wooden masts positioned across surrounding hills. Each bore a mirror and a tuned bell. If the bell on mast number 3 rang, the enemy was at 2,000 meters. If mast number 5 sounded, they were at 3,000 meters. In December 1940, he sent a letter to the USSR People's Commissariat of Defense proposing his system for early aircraft detection. The reply? Not within scope. Filed. But Stepan did not give up. He knew war would come, and it would come from the east. 4. The outbreak of the Great Patriotic War, June 22, 1941. At 4 a.m. on June 22, 1941, Stepan awoke to an anxious hum from his basement. His radio receiver was active. At 5 a.m., Yuri Levitan's voice crackled through the speaker. "Attention! This is Moscow speaking." Stepan stood at the window, gazing eastward. He understood. Germany struck at the heart, but Japan would strike the back. And if the USSR weakened,
Japan would strike. He resolved to build a weapon that did not fire, a weapon that defended without killing, a weapon of sound. The idea sprang from his studies of resonance. In 1927, he noticed a certain wind whistle shattered glass in the barn. In 1934, he held a tuning fork near a glass jar. It burst. He grasped the truth. Sound is energy, and energy can be directed. Thus was born the Gromowierzec, or Thunderer. 5. The birth of the Gromowierzec, 1941 to 1944. Stepan assembled the first prototype in 1942, a 1.5-meter wooden horn reinforced with copper plates, powered by a GAZAA automobile generator. Output 2 kilowatts, frequency 16 kilohertz. At 500 meters, it sent dogs into panic. By 1943, he had upgraded the design. Accessing a decommissioned RP-1 radio transmitter left behind in Blahoveshnetsk after the 147th radio station's evacuation, he salvaged its magnetotron, rewired the circuitry, and connected it to a UO-130 tube amplifier from a tank radio set. The true breakthrough came in February 1944, when a DG-10 diesel generator arrived in Sinyutios for the new school. Stepan struck a deal with the headmaster. "I'll give you a Stalinist tractor engine. You lend me the DG-10 for 2 weeks." In that time, he built a power unit capable of 12 kilowatts continuous output. By May 1944, the Gromowierzec was complete. The main horn, 2.9 meters diameter, oak frame sheathed in aluminum. Beam focus, 5 degrees, adjustable via a mount from an astronomical telescope. Power supply, 3 T105 batteries, plus a DG-10 generator. Frequency range, 8 to 24 kilohertz. Effective range, up to 9 kilometers line of sight. He tested it on a captured Tachikawa K-36 reconnaissance plane, shot down in 1939 and displayed in the Blahoveshnetsk Museum. At 300 meters, the system caused compass failure, flickering instrument lights, radio circuit short circuit. "This is no weapon," he wrote. "It is the voice of the earth. The earth cries out, and the sky listens." 6. The road to August 19, 1945. At 0001 local time on August 9, 1945, the USSR declared war on Japan. Operation August Storm, a 3-front offensive into Manchuria, began. Stepan followed the bulletins. August 10th, Soviet tanks crossed the Argun River. August 12th, Mukden captured. August 14th, Japanese bombers strike Blahoveshnetsk. Stepan sees smoke on the horizon. On August 15th, Japan announced surrender via radio, but the Kwantung Army never received the order. Fighting continued. On August 17th, intelligence from the Second Far Eastern Front reported, aircraft massing near Suifenhe, expect major rear area strike.
At 2340 on August 18, a radio dispatch arrived from Border Detachment No. 12, Blagoveshchensk. Lugovai SI, a massed Japanese air raid expected on 1908 at 0400. Target, Blagoveshchensk Rail Hub. Do not act without orders. Stepan replied, "Understood. Monitoring." But at 0100 on August 19, he was already hauling the Gromowierzec on a cart toward Krasny Holm, the highest point in the region, 187 meters above sea level. With him, spare batteries, diesel cans, binoculars, and his journal. At 0455, setup complete. At 0417, the eastern sky turned pink. Through his binoculars, he heard the first engines. Distance, 8.5 kilometers. Altitude, 3,400 meters. Aircraft type, Mitsubishi K-21. Stepan activated the Gromoverzhets. VII, the first minutes of battle, 0417 to 0422. 041703, frequency 18 kHz, power 8 kilowatts. The lead bomber veered sharply right, pilot disoriented. The plane spiraled into the ground 3 kilometers south of Sinyi Utos and exploded. 041811, two more aircraft attempt evasive maneuvers. One fires its machine gun wildly at the earth, panic. Both fail. One ignites from an electrical short, the other crashes into a ridge near the Norilsk River. 041945, second wave, 14 Nakajima K-43 Hayabusa fighters at 2,200 meters. Stepan switches to 21.5 kHz, the resonant frequency of the human vestibular system. Pilots suffered dizziness, nausea, spatial disorientation. 4 collide mid-air. The rest vanish into clouds and smash into the Berea River Mountains. 042130, third wave, 18 aircraft including 2 Mitsubishi G4M Betty heavy bombers. Stepan locks the beam. At 5 kilometers, electrical arcing ignites fuel vapors. Both bombers explode in mid-air. By 0422, wreckage rains down over Sinyi Utos, flashes light the sky, the ground trembles. But the battle isn't over. VIII, the final blow and silence, 0423 to 0428. 042300, final wave, 8 Tachikawa K-36 scouts fleeing west along the Zaya Valley. Anticipating this, Stepan had pre-positioned Gromoverzhets II, a simpler unit hidden in a ravine at the confluence of the Zaya and Norilsk rivers. He activated it remotely via cable, broadcasting at 19.2 kHz. All 8 aircraft lost control simultaneously. 3 crashed into Chernovka Hill. 5 vanished into the taiga, their wreckage not found until 1951 by a geological survey team. 042800, absolute silence. Only the crackle of burning aluminum, the cawing of crows, and the distant moan of wind through shattered fuselages. Stepan powered down the Gromoverzhets. Diesel consumed, 18 liters. Batteries, 67% discharged. He wrote in his journal, destroyed 52 aircraft. Duration, 11 minutes. No friendly casualties. VIX, morning after the storm, August 19 to 21. By 7:00, Senior Lieutenant Pyotr Volkov of Border Detachment No. 12 arrived on motorcycle. He saw smoke over the hills and wreckage across a 25-kilometer radius. His report of August 19 read, Japanese aircraft losses are anomalous. No shell craters. No bullet impacts. All machines destroyed on impact. Cause, undetermined. On August 20, KGB Major Nikolai Zhukov arrived confiscating Stepan's journal, schematics, and magnetic tape recordings. On August 21, Lieutenant General Vasily Stakhanov, commander of the 4th Air Army Far Eastern Front, inspected the site. He questioned Stepan and listened to a cockpit recording from a captured K-43, filled with pilot screams, retching, and ultrasonic wails. The general fell silent for 5 minutes. Then, "This cannot be."
but his order followed. Archive. Do not disclose. The official front directive stated, Japanese aircraft losses due to mechanical failure and pilot incompetence. X. Post-war years, 1946 to 1978. Stepan Ivanovich returned to the land. He never activated the Gromoverzhets again. In 1947, he married Maria Semyonovna Kuznetsova, widow of a border guard killed at Hassan. They had a son, Ivan, 1949, and a daughter, Anna, 1952. In 1953, he developed the Amurskaya 48 wheat variety, resistant to frosts down to -35 degrees Celsius. In 1960, he built the region's first solar grain dryer, using reflectors from decommissioned searchlights. In 1965, he declined the Order of the Red Banner of Labor. I am no hero. I simply would not let the enemy step onto my land. He died on May 3, 1978, of heart failure. Buried in the village cemetery. On his grave, a wooden cross and an inscription carved by his son. Here lies Stepan Ivanovich Lugovoy. He listened to the earth, and the earth answered. 11. Memory and Truth. In 1995, on the 50th anniversary of the victory over Japan, a monument was erected in Signy Utios. Bronze Stepan with binoculars gazing skyward. At his feet, a fragment of a Mitsubishi K-21 engine. In 2002, archives of the Far Eastern Military District were partially declassified. Report number 441/S, August 25, 1945, states, in the Signy Utios area, on 19.08/1945, 52 enemy aircraft destroyed without use of fire. Cause, undetermined. Investigation, recommended. In 2015, the Blagoveshchensk Regional Museum opened a permanent exhibit, The Gromoverzhets, Legend or Truth. It displays blueprints, the journal, horn fragments, and the cockpit recording. Today, elders in Amur Oblast tell their grandchildren, when the sky hums without wind, that's Stepan Ivanovich checking if we've forgotten how to defend our motherland. Epilogue. The story of Stepan Lugovoy is no fiction. It is a reminder the greatest acts of courage are rarely staged on parade grounds, printed in newspapers, or filmed for cinema. They unfold in the silence of a cellar, on a cold hill at night, in the heart of a man who loves his land more than life itself. And in that lies the essence of the Russian spirit.